In the previous lectures, we built a program that goes through the vegetables.txt file every 10 seconds and it prints out its content. So the program is running here. Now, vegetables.txt is just a simple text file with some useless data like garlic and onion. What happens if we had some more real-world data, such as this temps_today.csv file? So this is a CSV file, which is basically a text file, and it has a structure of multi-columns. So every column has some data. You see here, this is a header. It has two columns, st1 for station 1 and st2 for station 2. So we have two weather observation stations, and they recorded this data, these temperatures. Let's say these are observations in one day. This is in the morning, and this is later in the afternoon and in the night. So we have two columns. Our duty now is to read this file every 10 seconds, just like we are doing with the vegetables.txt file. But instead of printing out its content, we have to print out the average value of all these values. So we should do that every 10 seconds. Well, normally you'd have to do this every 24 hours, because it makes more sense since these data are daily data, daily temperatures data. They are being changed every day. It does make sense to print out the value, the average value, every 24 hours. And of course you can do that easily, just change the value from 10 seconds to whatever seconds is equal to 24 hours. You can easily calculate that. But for simplicity here, let's just use 10 seconds. Now, while we can do this by using the open method to load the data in Python, that would load the data as a string. So this entire text would be loaded as a string in Python. Then we would have to apply some string processing operations to split all these values and convert them to floats. But that would be like reinventing the wheel. What I'm trying to say is that someone else wrote some Python code that does this very easily in just 1 or 2 lines of code. And the guys who wrote this, they have built this as a third-party library. So just like we used time and OS by importing them inside Python, we can also use another library for this case to load this data in a nice format in Python. Let me show you how. The library name I know is pandas, and pandas doesn't come by default with Python. So when you install Python, pandas will not be there. But you can install it with pip. Pip is another library that comes installed by default in Python, and it's used to install other third-party libraries. So pip, now if you were using Python 3 command to run your programs, then use pip3. If you're using Python without 3 there, then just use pip. So I'm going to use pip3 and then do install pandas. Pandas is the name of the library we want to install. So the bars are filling in. That means the pandas library is being installed. Successfully installed. Great, now let's go ahead and use pandas in our script here. Import pandas just like we did with other libraries. So this was a standard library. It's built inside the Python interpreter, and this is again, it's a standard library, but it's not built in, it's written in Python. This pandas, this is written in Python as well, and now it was just installed in our Python installation files. Let me show you where that pandas is. Let's open a Python session. So if you import sys and then sys.prefix, that will give you this directory. Whatever directory you have, so copy it without the quotes, and then you start on Windows and paste the directory. On Mac and Linux, use open and paste the directory, press enter. That will open the directory, go to lib, to Python, and then OS, for example, was here, os.py. These were standard libraries. Now, whatever you install with pip, it's going to be inside the site packages directory, which is down here somewhere. Yes. So pandas, this is pandas. We just installed pandas. In this case, this is not a module, but it's a bunch of modules. And this is called a package. When you have several modules, that is called a package. But you can still refer to it as a library. So a library is a name used usually to refer both to modules and libraries. So when you code, when you use pandas, it doesn't make any difference if it's a module or it's a bunch of modules, so a package. So the code of pandas is all there, and we can use this code now in our script. So let me show you in the next lecture how we use this pandas third-party library.